Well, hi again, everyone. It's Megan here. I'm here with Steve, and we've just been talking more in depth actually about the Song of Songs and thought it would be great to have another video where we can go a little bit deeper into some of the themes that are brought up in the Song of Songs, because it sounds to me, as we've been talking, Steve, that there are such juicy uh, images, symbols, phrases, I mean, things that are from our Judeo-Christian, quote, mythology that I think we need to, well, that's very helpful to pick back up, because I just feel we have been so cut off from the ecstatic mysteries. And the Song of Songs seems to be bringing both the female mysteries, the
Mm.
sacred marriage mysteries, and of course the sacred marriage mysteries lead to ecstatic dance with life. And we have that from the Sufi tradition. Rumi certainly was an ecstatic dancer with life, and it's so nice to come back to the more of the Western tradition and to see actually in the Bible there's a very strong, powerful tradition of the ecstatic mysteries. So just keep riffing, Steve. Tell us what some of the more of the subjects are that we're going to cover in the Song of Songs.
Yeah, I mean, it is very much about sexual, spiritual, creative awakening. Um, and what we've done in religion is cut the cord between sexuality and spirituality, and sexuality and creativity, as if they're different things. And you get the ecstatic dancing in Hasidism, sorry, and you get it in, the evangelical churches. However, and I don't want to be critical of what other people do, there is a disconnect. It's very much, this thing of moving with the Holy Spirit, which is done inside a church or something, or it's done inside a synagogue, but what's missing really is the connection with the genitals. And people are frightened of that. I understand why. I understand the whole abuse, but of sexual abuse and all those things. But we're never going to break that unless we approach sexuality as adults. And so this is about becoming a spiritual adult.
Okay.
And therefore our creative sexuality is contained within us as adults,
Right.
with a deep awareness. So the abuse of this,
Right.
or locking it away and pretending that we are making some kind of ecstatic connectivity with life when it's contained within a building.
I see.
And there's no connectivity with the earth.
Right.
There's with ecstatic, my own experience of those ecstatic, what I would call like transfiguration type experience, is that that the universe is one consciousness. That it's non-conceptual knowing, and that you are deeply connected with the earth and with the natural world, that they're all expressions of this one consciousness that's called Elohim, or Yahweh Elohim in Hebrew, or Ehyeh, or Asherah. All of these names are in the text. And so one of the things, for example, in the second chapter, is the heroine of the book, who's the initiate, who's initiated into deeper and deeper ecstatic awakenings of her sexual, creative, spiritual, divine self, realizes that she's a fruiting tree. And that this is called, it appears in different points. It's like a honeycomb forest, or the honey forest. And so there's a whole connection with the sacredness of the bee. But it's important to understand that the etz in Hebrew although it can be translated as tree, it means the awakened and transfigured feminine.
Oh, okay.
And it also means the awakened spine.
Mhm.
And it also means to be awake to and as the building blocks of life, which we now call DNA. Now, I know that people, scientifically minded people, say, well, how could they possibly know about DNA? Well, they knew that it's possible to commune with the micro or level of the Holy Spirit. So whether we're communing with the macro level, the Earth itself, or the stars, the solar system and stars, or whether we go within to our cells and into our blood and bones, and we realize the fire in the atoms and the fire in the subatomic particles, we are communing with what we now call DNA. And these ancient peoples did that in their ceremonies, and they had visions about this.
So it sounds like the Song of Songs brings us into like a pathway for embodied experience rather than a pathway up. It's a pathway into the body and
Yeah.
a pathway to connect with others and a pathway to connect with all natural life. And in that way, we're in this ecstatic dance, I think of it.
Yeah, I try and put it simply in that as your pineal gland opens, as your eye opens, your third eye or pineal gland, your heart opens and you expand through the six directions, you're connecting with your heart deeper and deeper into the core, the source of your being, which means that you're able to meet what appears as to the mind as the outer world with more and more awareness, and it will initiate you into deeper and deeper levels of awareness.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
you're able to commune with the Holy Spirit as nature, or the Holy Spirit as the earth, or the Holy Spirit as the solar system, etc., or an individual species that you meet. Spirit of a particular animal, for example, or a tree.
Yeah. I'm wondering if you could read some of the phrases that come out in the text, because a lot of the phrases, as you were reading them to me, I was like really inspired. So can you just give us a flavor of some of those topics that we're going to be talking about?
Well, in the second chapter, for example, it talks about she becomes the embodiment of love, which is Aleph Hey Bet Hey, which means Aleph alive, Bet alive. Now, for those people who are listening who don't know anything about Hebrew, it's a very profound equation, which is the word for love. It is the no thing, all that is embodied within you.
Mm-hmm.
And your inner life and the outer life are perceived and experienced and known to be one.
Right.
And in this, around verse 5 of chapter 2, she's in a whirling dance to literally to wind up the fire, the fire, the primal fire of the universe, the divine fire, spiritual fire, and then to spread it out around her, to share it with all of life. So the implication behind this is that whatever we conceive of as enlightenment is not personal, it's for the whole of life. As she awakens, she realizes that she's there to give consciousness back to the universe, back to the natural world, back to the earth. Mm-hmm. And so she becomes a student of life, and her teacher is the Holy Spirit, but it comes through all of the forms of life. So she opens up her right side, for example, which is the right mind or the non-conceptual awareness. There are the 7 chakras on the spine are repeated over and over again. And so there's also the symbol of the red and the white and red dust mixing together.
Huh.
So this is in lots of traditions. It would be seen as shamanism in many traditions because that's what it is. If we want to give it a name, that word doesn't exist in Hebrew. It means to become a teacher of peace
Wow.
and a teacher of love. I mean, true love, which is to be the lover of life, to be in love with life, to be in love with being alive.
Mhm. Yeah. You were reading me some of the symbols like the honey forest and things like that. Can you just pull out some phrases?
Yeah, so she becomes the breath of love, the fire of love, the nefesh, which is the soul in Hebrew, is breathes the fire of love. So the soul is literally lit up, and that means the body and the mind are illuminated. And so this is about transfiguration, resurrection body, we can call it. So there's a symbol of the palm tree of Devora. There is this awakening again. It's the fountain breath.
Mhm.
And the whole idea of becoming deathless. So we go beyond death into the deathless state of continual rebirth. So it's a continual, each moment is becomes one moment, the present moment. So she's continually born again as the present moment.
Right.
Because she's holding a conscious awareness as this moment now. And so she steps then into the timeless, as well as being in a time bound body and mind. But then her body and mind are no longer time bound anymore because the consciousness is timeless.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about this liberation. So she's called the beloved Magdal, where we get the symbol of Mary Magdalene from. Means fortified conduit of consciousness. And so she brings through no thing, the ayin in Hebrew, which is a very sacred word. And there's a da'at initiation as she goes into becoming sister, bride, lover of life. The bright beloved feminine, the good beloved wine, the spirit of the fullness of the name, Shem. It says her lips drip with honey. She's the bride of the honeycomb. She flows with milk and honey. She's the orchard of pomegranates. And so there's this whole thing around the aromatic nard. I don't know whether you've heard of the nard. It was supposed to be, an aphrodisiac, etc. And so it talks about becoming a garden of paradise, to realize that within yourself and to consume honey, the honey of the Holy Spirit, to become a honeycomb forest. Again, it's there. Various names come into this, such as Lila, Lilith, and Devora, Sheba, etc. So she becomes the embodiment of love. There's also to become the black raven, as well as the white dove of peace.
Wow.
And to become the breath of life. Literally, she says, I am the breath of life, walking consciously, beloved and beautiful of the feminine amongst women. I am the breath of life, connecting the divine with the physical. So it goes on in poetic form. She, on one level, is complete in herself.
Right.
So the masculine figure that comes in has to meet her as someone who is complete. So in order for him to be her consort, he too has to be complete. And so the marriage is between two complete beings who mirror each other.
Yeah.
So that's some of the themes. I mean, I could go on for, I'll just see if I can find there's the awakening of the navel and the umbilical cord between, which is called a singing bowl. The mingling of wines in the womb, taking the grains of wheat and the new wine and mixing them together.
Wow.
This bread and wine mystery. And that she breathes the breath as Magdala, as Magdal.
Yeah. It brings in so many of the goddess names that we've been studying in the Hebrew goddess class. It feels like it's bringing in the sacred marriage mysteries, the goddess mysteries, the how to become fully embodied as a human being on planet Earth, how to dance with life.
Yes.
It just feels like such a celebration of life.
Yes, it's literally, she's the lover of life and the lover of being alive, the lover of being here in form and within the play of forms as a co-creator. So it's not an attempt to go somewhere else. It's to be here fully now, wherever life places us, and to the best of our ability to awaken to the fullness of life.
And to recognize that each one of us is the co-creator of our reality, and we're co-creating by opening. Yeah. So, well, why don't we leave it there for now? I think you've given us a lot of food for thought and thinking about all the kind of different themes that we can learn about and practice and embody. I like that we can chant these names, these equations, and open up the portals within us to these multi-dimensional realities. So thank you for
I just want to just say one last thing on that note, that all of this is an ongoing meditation, and it's about, just as you put it, to embody this. It's a series of initiations that are embedded into the Song of Songs for us to become fully realized as human beings.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.